Yes, you guys can see me. Hello, 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 hello. How we doing today? How we doing? Oh, hello. Right now we're just waiting for YouTube to work. YouTube is not working today. Just taking very slow. Slow rolling going on today, man. I don't know why, but it's coming. It is coming.
You don't have money for home projects, you have to watch this. The 2025 Window Replacement Relief Service is not a scam. Homeowners think it's a scam because they are clicking on the wrong websites.
Well, it's the first official day back in Congress, and wouldn't you know it, the Democrats have leaked information about Donald Trump's name coming up in 3 emails. Out of hundreds of thousands of emails, 3. I want to go through this. I want to go through the upcoming elections with Dr. Jerome Corsi. Dr. Corsi, thank you for joining me.
Always a great pleasure, Stephen. Thank you.
So I knew that this was going to happen. Democrats pretended this entire shutdown was Donald Trump trying to hide his name in the Jeffrey Epstein files, that he was complicit in trafficking young girls and dirty, perverted stuff. Now, on their first real day back to work, they leak 3 emails that have Donald Trump's name in it. Democrats are now saying he must resign, the American people should be in the streets protesting, and that they will impeach him. What are your thoughts on this Jeffrey Epstein stuff? And then I want to actually look at the emails with you.
Well, first of all, the Democrats have no real policy whatsoever that's going to appeal to the American people. And they have no game plan that's going to be, their game plan is Mondami and Hamas and supporting Venezuelan drug dealers. They don't have much in common with the American people. So they're desperate. And they also know what's coming. And what's coming is what we're going to explain through the course of this show is there's a lot of grand juries now that are working hard. There's going to be indictments. And I think that Trump is on the warpath now to make sure we get fair elections, especially after the last 3 elections with Mondami in New York and the gubernatorial races both in New Jersey and Virginia. Well, I think that the Democrats are playing the last cards they've got, and they're pretty desperate. I don't think they're going to make the impact the Democrats think they will make, but let's look at the emails.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree with you. There's a lot that's about to happen. We've got these grand juries that are now being made public in the state of Florida. So, the more that Adam Schiff realizes he's going to be in trouble for fraud, the more he's going to say Epstein, right? So, but let's just go through these for the sake of the audience, because there's not a lot of meat on these bones, right? So this is
Well, come on.
Did you miss today's biggest news? I saved the biggest till last. Of course, those who subscribe to this channel don't miss a single thing.
Why? I was charged $406 for 9 tablets of 100.
What?
Well, it's the first official day back in Congress, and wouldn't you know it, the Democrats have leaked information about Donald Trump's name coming up in 3 emails. Out of hundreds of thousands of emails, 3. I want to go through this. I want to go through the upcoming elections with Dr. Jerome Corsi. Dr. Corsi, thank you for joining me.
Always a great pleasure, Stephen. Thank you.
So I knew that this was going to happen. Democrats pretended this entire shutdown was Donald Trump trying to hide his name in the Jeffrey Epstein files, that he was complicit in trafficking young girls and dirty, perverted stuff. Now, on their first real day back to work, they leak 3 emails that have Donald Trump's name in it. Democrats are now saying he must resign, the American people should be in the streets protesting, and that they will impeach him. What are your thoughts on this Jeffrey Epstein stuff? And then I want to actually look at the emails with you.
Well, first of all, the Democrats have no real policy whatsoever that's going to appeal to the American people. And they have no game plan that's going to be, their game plan is Mondami and Hamas and supporting Venezuelan drug dealers. They don't have much in common with the American people. So they're desperate. And they also know what's coming. And what's coming is what we're going to explain through the course of this show is there's a lot of grand juries now that are working hard. There's going to be indictments. And I think that Trump is on the warpath now to make sure we get fair elections, especially after the last 3 elections with Mondami in New York and the gubernatorial races, both in New Jersey and Virginia. Well, I think that the Democrats are playing the last cards they've got, and they're pretty desperate. I don't think they're going to make the impact the Democrats think they will make, but let's look at the emails.
Okay. Yeah, and I agree with you. There's a lot that's about to happen. We've got these grand juries that are now being made public in the state of Florida. So, the more that Adam Schiff realizes he's going to be in trouble for fraud, the more he's going to say Epstein, 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 right? So, but let's just go through these for the sake of the audience, because there's not a lot of meat on these bones, right? So this is Ed Cranston, a rabid Trump hater over on X. He says that, Trump is guilty, that he's sick. But when you start actually digging into these emails, you've got Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, right? And they say, I want you to realize that the dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Redacted. Spent hours at my home with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief. Hello, then we head over to another one. Victim at Mar-a-Lago. Trump said he asked me to resign. Never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop. And then lastly, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you, or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him, generating a debt. Of course, it is possible. When asked, he'll say, Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. So right away, as I'm reading these, Dr. Corsi, my first thought is this sounds like blackmail, which is what Jeffrey Epstein was allegedly doing. On top of that, right here, the girls they're talking about at Mar-a-Lago, Trump's already come out with this story and said, I found out that Epstein was poaching my employees and being a pervert, and so I kicked him out and never allowed him back. And it says right here that he had asked Ghislaine Maxwell to stop. So again, as you mentioned earlier, they've been holding these back. They've been building this narrative for 41 days, and boom, they drop it. And really, this is what you have, a blackmail scheme that they admit in email, Trump asking Epstein to leave and to quit talking to his employees, and her admitting that Ghislaine had been asked multiple times by Trump to stop. Your thoughts on these emails?
Well, first of all, Trump knew what Epstein was doing. Everybody knew anybody who was in the know knew what Epstein was doing. He was trading on young girls, pedophiles, to men who were looking for sexual adventure and were oblivious to the fact they were being blackmailed because they were being filmed. Well, Donald Trump was smart enough to see through the whole plot, and he wasn't going to participate. Besides, these aren't the kind of women Donald Trump has been attracted to. I mean, I've known Donald Trump for 45 years, and I can tell you, I have never seen him with the kind of women that, Epstein reputedly traded in. Donald Trump's women were mature adult women who were model quality beauties, and usually international, with some flair to them or other. And yes, he may have ridden on the Epstein airplane, but he wasn't participating in the Epstein sexual adventures. Had that been the case, that would have been out day one in 2016. Coming out now in 2025, at the end of the year, it's just a non-story. It's even worse than a Hail Mary. This is a desperate attempt to find something that will stick to create traction for the Democrats in their badly losing narrative.
Yeah, it's interesting. The only Republican that seems to believe this or pretend to believe it is Congressman Thomas Massie, who Trump has said, we're going to primary you because you keep voting against me and the MAGA agenda. So I don't know whether he actually really believes that. I used to really like Thomas Massie, but you're right. Trump's first wife was his age.
Right.
His second wife was his age, and Melania was in her 30s. And in fact, during a very crass interview with Howard Stern on live radio, they were talking about Paris Hilton's sex tape. He said, yes, I'm aware of it. Melania brought it to my attention. He said, did you watch it? Did you think she was sexy? He said, I've never been into young girls. Right. He says it right there. So I think you're right. I think they're trying to say, because you guys ran in the same circles, you must have been best friends. And you must have been, because you had the Playboy lifestyle and the money, you must have been a pervert. But 3 of Epstein's lawyers have publicly stated, after reviewing everything, defending him for his weirdo crimes, that Trump's name was never brought up, never in any of the documents, never in any of the business dealings. So I don't know, your thoughts on all of that.
Well, Trump was a celebrity himself in those years. And of course, they knew each other in New York.
Literally tells you what's going wrong with your health in minutes.
I didn't know I had liver disease till it was almost too late, and all I had to do was pee in a...
They knew each other in New York, and there was some times they were together. It does not mean that Trump partook of the sexual favors that Epstein was doling out. Trump could see through that in about 20 seconds. Trump is not going to be caught in one of these bribery schemes without being aware that he's being lured into one, and so therefore the whole story is not credible. It's a desperate attempt by a party that has lost its way to find some dirt that might catch against Donald Trump. And all the dirt that's been found about Donald Trump, from the Billy Budd tapes and all the rest of it, and grabbing women and everything else that came out, Trump has gotten past, because Trump's fundamental character, and he has, I think, changed and deepened in this, his belief in God, his devotion to the country, his determination to put America back on track of make America great again. These are themes that I think override everything else in Donald Trump's life. And the Epstein affair is unfortunate, but it was not central to who Donald Trump is. And any attempt to make it so is just going to reflect badly on those who are pushing the lie.
Yeah. Okay, final thing, and then I want to move on to these indictments and the briefings that you're seeing that my audience isn't. So Ghislaine Maxwell is basically they're plotting. He and Michael Wolff, Epstein, they're plotting how to blackmail Trump if he becomes president. It's been 10 years since 2015. They did nothing. They got nothing. The only thing we know for sure is that Jeffrey Epstein went down during the Trump years and killed himself or was suicided or unalived during the Trump years. And then the Bidens did absolutely nothing on this story until Trump won. And then suddenly they pull it out of the closet again.
Yep.
Well, they're desperate. And again, this is the only thing they can find. They have nothing else. And so they're beside themselves. They thought they had a gold mine in Trump. But then again, They thought they could make something out of Russian collusion. Well, that was a lie, too. Everything they've hit Donald Trump with has been a lie. Democrats don't know how to do anything but lie. And so, therefore, we've had accusations like the Kavanaugh hearings when they were accusing him of all kinds of sexual improprieties when he was younger. I mean, these things are... The Democrats can only obsess over something that is a scandal because they have no policy issue that is going to win the day with the American people. Certainly not, sex change operations with young children who have not reached the age of puberty is not going to appeal to any average normal parent.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's put a pin in that for a minute. I'm hearing from Alex Jones. I'm hearing from you. I'm hearing from many others. I'm reading in the news that there are grand juries that are kicking off in the state of Florida.
Yep.
Democrats are panicking because this isn't Washington, D.C., where they have Boasberg and Chutkin and others to run cover for them. They're going to have to go up against real judges in the state of Florida. What are you hearing about these juries, and then what are these briefings that you've been given?
Well, first of all, the attempt has been made to not have all the prosecutions come out of the Department of Justice in Washington. And what we've been talking about, I've been on this campaign about Todd Blanche, who was running the Department of Justice for Pam Bondi as Deputy Attorney General. Well, this has finally gotten to Donald Trump, and he's largely marginalized or started to marginalize Todd Blanche. So a lot of these investigations are going out to U.S. attorneys and offices outside of Washington to lead the investigation. So you see that Ed Martin is the pardon attorney. Well, Ed Martin has now gotten pardons for Giuliani and for the so-called Trump electors from 2020. He's also been reaching out to other offices to work, not just coming out of Washington, D.C. And so the grand juries that are calling Clapper on, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page and others to come to the grand jury are in Florida. Pam Bondi is. They're not in Washington, D.C., where you would get a jury that would exonerate anybody who hated Trump. Okay, so the Department of Justice is acting in a highly intelligent way, systematically, and they've really got 3 investigations going. Number one is the coup d'etat investigation against Obama and Hillary for making up the Russian collusion story to go after Donald Trump to remove him from office. Okay, number 2 is that they're definitely going after all of the people from Operation Crossfire Hurricane. So the coup d'etat, Crossfire Hurricane. Now you've got Clapper and all the rest coming in. They're going after mortgage fraud, Letitia James, and you've got now Adam Schiff involved, and pretty soon you're going to have Swalwell involved in a mortgage fraud scheme. And the mortgage fraud goes right into Act Blue. And so our whistleblower, Sean Taylor, has been responding even to me lately saying he can't talk anymore because he's now plugged into the federal prosecutorial system. I brought his case in to the Department of Justice and got a commitment from the Department of Justice that they would look at Act Blue. Act Blue is what you're going to find out is that the Democratic Party has been operating a money laundering scheme. And the money laundering scheme is pervasive. It's all across it's huge. And it involves the banks and it involves the criminal activity in the border. I'm looking here. I've pulled some reports. I'm going to start writing about this on American Thinker. But for instance, let me give you one of the articles that I have an article here from the Department of Justice, and they're reporting that on the bank money laundering that has been done by TD Bank. Okay, so first of all, TD Bank, this is a Reuters report, and it came up in October 10th, 2024. Reuters paid $3 billion in penalties to resolve the charges that it was laundering money from drug cartels. Prosecutors said the bank operated with inadequate guards against money laundering for nearly a decade. Failing to act even when the staff flagged obvious cases of abuse, such as a customer making daily deposits of $1 million in cash. That's TD Bank. Okay, and then another report from the Department of Justice, and this is an official Department of Justice press release, again from October 2024. It says for TD Bank from January 1, 2018 to April 12, 2024, did not file any money laundering reports, even though money laundering was going on extensively. So there was a total of 18.3 trillion in transactions in that 6-year period of time, which the bank had no money laundering reports whatsoever. Okay, so now you've got money laundering coming in from the border after Obama and Biden opened the border with Honduras in 2014. We report this all on, we've got all the reports there on God's Five Stones about how this was done. And you can't run a drug operation or a fentanyl operation or a child sex trade operation, all of which came in on the border after it was opened by Obama and Biden, without a bank. You can't drive around a semi-truck with your $100 bills. The cash is a big problem in illegal activities. And you've got to get the cash into the bank and to a bank so you can use it with credit cards and normal ways of dealing with business.
Almost passed out from a mold reaction in my own basement. My hospital-grade HEPA filter was running right next to
ways of dealing with business. So the banks are laundering the money. The CIA's in on it, actually running the drug trade, running the sex trade, and the money gets funneled into the Democratic Party through the Act Blue NGO structure. And the NGOs operate to get the money out of the bank. The way money laundering operates in a bank is simple. First of all, you've got illegal money in huge quantities. Yeah. And you've got to get the bank to intake that. So the bank brings it in through check cashing facilities, all kinds of different ways, but they get that money into the bank. Then the bank has to get it accounted for so it disappears. So to get it out of the bank, they have to have a transaction. So the bank says to the head of Act Blue, you buy a house in Palo Alto, California for $1 million and we'll make $30 million in mortgage loans to you, which are picked up by Lexus, which records all these transactions, but doesn't show up on the deed because it was not a mortgage loan. It was just passing of illegal money through border criminal activity to an NGO that was associated with the Democratic Party to run Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Okay, and so the Capital Research, this recent issue of the Capital Research, which is also doing the same thing I'm doing and following the money. They're finding a whole network of foundations, that were created maybe as long ago as the 1920s, but have been taken over by like the Century Foundation, which has $56 million in net assets to advance left of center policy, and it traces back to the Filene's department store in 1908 in Boston. And these foundations, the Kellogg Foundation, the Tides Foundation, Bill Gates' foundation, all these foundations have been funneling money to destroy America because their agenda is a globalist agenda. And they are transhumanists. They think that there's too many people they want to depopulate. So therefore, what is going to come out now is not only the massive coup d'etat hatred of Donald Trump, that was the Obama coup d'etat, Russian collusion, Operation Crossfire Hurricane, but a series of very top officials involved in treasonous activity. And then this money trail, which is going to show that we opened our borders to drugs, fentanyl, cocaine, we homelessness in the streets, all the drug abuse in these homeless communities in San Francisco and other cities, the running of radical candidates like Mondami, who are a combination Muslim and Marxist. And we are at the first stage of it processing through a justice system that is now decentralized in order that Todd Blanches can't block everything in Washington, D.C.
Do you think that Todd needs to be removed? Because Alex Jones has been saying he doesn't think he is loyal to Trump.
I agree with Alex. In fact, I'm probably the one that started it.
Okay.
I've got briefed on that early on. And I started talking about it before Alex talked about it. And Alex picked up on it. Alex probably had the same information I had. And Peter Titkin was also out and talking about it as well. Did several interviews on it, which he mentioned a Todd Blanche by name. And there are a lot of still holdover Obama-Biden bureaucrats sitting in place just waiting for the Trump second term to be over.
Mm. And that's the deep state. That's the permanent bureaucracy that Trump wants to get rid of, but is difficult to get rid of.
Well, he's getting rid of them. Now, there are some extreme measures under consideration. Okay, what's under consideration, number one, is, you see that Antifa is now taking over the streets of the Democratic cities, are now going violent, and mobs are attacking people, and there are these random knife attacks, etc. So Donald Trump is systematically beginning to send in the National Guard, and he'll ultimately invoke the Insurrection Act and have the troops take over the Democratic cities. Because you can't let this, if the Democratic cities, like Mondami comes on and says he's going to hire, social workers to do the 911 calls, and he's going to defund the police. Oh, you can't send two social workers out on a violent family dispute where husband and wife have knives at each other and are arguing. Well, what's the social worker going to do? Well, and the children are at stake and at risk.
Look at a robbery.
So the first thing is that Donald Trump's going to get control of the cities and say, if you just remove the cities from the United States would be completely a conservative country. Free California movement, or this new California movement. There's only a few places in California, but they're the cities on the coast that are dominated by the Democrats. And there are so many of them that they overwhelm numbers in a general election, especially when the Democrats cheat. Democrats don't seem to have any hesitation to cheat and to lie.
Oh, yeah?
Okay, so therefore, Trump will be able to use this military when he does, and he is writing a new executive order that he has said will be issued that will require voter ID and proof of citizenship. They'll get rid of these general mail-in ballot schemes and will require the computers to be gone, the voting. Now, the Democrats are not going to like that in the boards of election. Trump could easily, under Article 2, Section, have his commander-in-chief say the military can run the election in 2026 according to the rules he sets forth. And by the way, the states can set the rules for the federal election a presidential year, but they have to comply with federal requirements.
If you were locked up in Illinois juvie at Cook County, the Audi home, or anywhere else in the system, this is the money glitch that's getting former detainees properly compensated.
So Trump will impose the federal requirements.
Okay. I don't want to cut off your line of thinking, but did you see that Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is now saying Trump is preparing to rig the election through the Dominion voting machines?
I saw that.
Oh my gosh. She went from he's a loony bin that every court threw him out of they're going to rig the election through Dominion voting machines.
Yeah. The Democrats swore those machines were honest. It was the most honest election we've ever had, they said.
Right.
Yes.
And now they're admitting that they wanted to say Trump's going to rig the election through the voting machines that they said were unriggable.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. When I saw that, I was just like, wow, we've come full circle. What, as far as these briefings that you're seeing, is this just because I think there's been this anxiety that we're all waiting for Trump to do something big. He's done something big on the border. He's doing a lot of foreign stuff. Now people are ready for him to really focus on domestic issues.
Well, people want to see Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, duck walked out of the White House or out of their homes and arrested in a public scene. And they're so angry at what the Biden administration did with the auto pen and the dementia and everything else, and Obama and his smugness, thinking that Obama came on hip hop and hope and change and the Obama girl, all the songs they were writing about Obama, and yes he can, si se puede, and all the things they did for Obama. Well, now the people know who Obama is. Obama's persona non grata to most of the people in the country. But the Democrats are going to try to say, let's extend Obamacare. Let's act like they really care about people. Let's extend Obamacare is a disaster. We knew it was going to be a disaster when it was passed. And so therefore, all it's done is largely make medical health of the United States deteriorated, because you have big hospitals and big hospital groups and big doctor groups that have taken away the solar practitioner, made this an industrial medicine that we're getting today. One class fits all, and you've got your computers telling you what to do as a doctor when you're diagnosing an illness with a person. Your diagnostic tests and your computer tell you what to do. If you violate from those rules, you might lose your job with the hospital group. So therefore, we're seeing just below the surface, which I think is going to serve us in time for the 2026 election to be held legitimately. That's, I think, the next goal that Trump's on. Got to make sure that election's held and we don't lose Congress to Democrats who would spend the next 2 years impeaching Donald Trump like they did in the first term.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't going to spend time on Sliwa. He knew that Mamdani was most likely going to win. But if he loses the House and the Senate, he's going to become a lame duck. They'll impeach him on day one. It'll just completely ruin everything he's built. So I think he understands that. He's got a war chest of over $1 billion. They've got some great candidates. They're going to be removing some people and bringing in new people. And they want to have another national convention to really get Republicans excited so that they will get out and vote. I'm still very optimistic about 2026.
Oh, I am too. I'm very much so. I think the Democrats, if we held a fair election with only people who had the right to vote as citizens, half the Democrats in the House and Senate would be defeated. And I think we may get a surprise from the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court says race cannot be used as a determinant of voting. So all this gerrymandering to try to rig districts for the Democrats is going to come to an end. Democrats, have used, Martin Luther King said, give us an equal opportunity. He didn't say give us an advantage to compensate for the years in which we've been discriminated. That's where DEI came in. That's where, your preferences for jobs and for voting and other things comes in favor of minorities in order to compensate for the oppression. But that just discriminates against whites. It's just another race-based discrimination. You can't have it be that way and be true to our principles. But of course, the Democrats took the opening of the door by Martin Luther King to be the wide open door towards insurrection and Marxism and social justice, Frankfurt School, equality, which has always been a trap for totalitarianism. Totalitarianism is right behind that. If you don't agree with this agenda, you're obviously so wrong you don't deserve to have the right to speak.
Okay, I've got a couple more questions, but I just want to plug your website. If people go to God's 5 Stones, they can learn about all of the amazing work you're doing, the lawsuits you guys are working on, the research. If you guys can financially chip in and support Dr. Jerome Corsi, he and his team, they are taking the fight to the street that you and I want, but don't know what to do. They know what to do. They just need some help there. So go check out God's 5 Stones. And Dr. Corsi, I'll put a direct link to that so people can find it very easily.
Thank you.
What was your reaction when President Trump came out and said, we've got to nuke the filibuster? It's something that has been hamstringing the Senate for a long time. We're not going to get anything done. Everything I propose, the Democrats make a giant stink of it. They get the media behind it. They get the intelligence groups behind it. And I'm not able to move as quickly as I want. What were your thoughts on him saying nuke the filibuster?
Well, I think he's right. I think right now it's become a dysfunctional tool that's used in order to be dysfunctional by the Democrats. And I think that we need to have the ability to have action taken on the floor, not postponed indefinitely and tabled. And the Democrats are just disruptive at this point. That is the book I wrote on the neo-Marxism goes to cultural Maoism and it ends up in anarchy. And that's where we are right now. The Democratic Party has ended up in anarchy. Democratic Party is in the streets with Antifa. Democratic Party is in the streets with transgenderism, trying to get men into women's sports. They're in the universities trying to inculcate love of Hamas and anti-Semitism. Every bad idea that is dysfunctional, the Democrats have embraced, from climate change on, and hoisted it upon the world, knowing that it would cause chaos. And the goal was to have to destabilize society, destabilize traditional values, break up the nuclear family, reduce belief in God, and then have their social revolution in which they could impose their totalitarian minority views upon all the rest of us, such that if we dared think something differently, we could go to prison.
Several members of the Democrat Party were asked last night if they were embarrassed of holding the military hostage, making them go multiple pay periods without pay, if holding hungry children hostage in order to embarrass Trump was worth it. Listen to what some of these had to say, because I was a little bit shocked.
This is the reason why I've canceled my internet service provider subscription. This brand new portable Wi-Fi router provides more features.
What some of these had to say, because I was a little bit shocked.
Done worth it? Yeah, I think so. I hate it. But yeah, it was worth it. Definitely. We got people to pay attention to the fact that this is a traumatic, in many cases, life or death situation for people all over this country. Was the shutdown worth it?
I think it was, because I think the perception, we made it clear that this, not just the healthcare issue, but the whole issue. I think it was remarkable when the president tried to use SNAP as a punishment to force us to capitulate.
You see how they turned that around? It was worth it to lock everybody down and put all these people out of work and make them worry. And then he tries to spin it that it was Trump that was using hungry children, when in fact it was them. There were single bills that came forward for the military, for SNAP. Trump went to the Supreme Court saying we need legal guidance. Ketanji Brown Jackson, the most Democrat person on the bench right now, said you can't pay with money you don't have. You need to reopen the government. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the Democrats are famous for blaming you for what they're doing. Yeah. So they come out and they accuse Trump of wanting to use SNAP in order to punish people and make the, to blame it on the Democrats. Well, Trump is obviously here doing what he needs to do to get the government shut down. He's required to do it. And so therefore, it's the Democrats who see that they can manipulate the food stamp crowd into a hate Trump modality by saying he took your food stamps away from you, when in fact the Democrats have been the ones who have caused this filibuster, kept the government open with the intent of creating a crisis that they could then blame on Trump to reduce his popularity. Yep. It's a calculated move and it backfired. As Schumer lost control of his own party came back and rebelled and said, we're done with this. You're not going to get all your little favorite programs like, the one I loved the best was male prostitutes in Africa. They wanted to spend millions of dollars. Senator Kennedy caught on to that. And if you people lost your minds, what are you doing with male prostitutes in Africa? You're funding it millions of dollars. Yeah. And that's where the Democratic Party is. The Democratic Party has lost its moral compass. It's gone from being a communist party to now being a treasonous revolutionary party that is based on anarchy. It's a nihilistic party. Nihilism does not sell in politics. And the midterms, I think, if we can eliminate the cheating, the Democrats are going to do very poorly. And I think Trump is aiming at making sure that there are going to be indictments. The illegals are going to be deported out of the country. And we're going to have a midterm in 2026 that is an honest election in which citizens vote. And these rules made to allow cheating are eliminated, including the universal mail-in ballot and the ubiquitous use of these machines.
Okay, final question. I appreciate your time very much. So during the government shutdown, SNAP was used as a weapon, as a pawn, as a hostage. But one thing that came out is just how many illegal immigrants, millions and millions of illegals, getting more money than American citizens. I mean, my first thought is, why don't they go ahead and fund that when the government reopens? And then why don't they go ahead and unleash Doge to go get all those illegals out? I'm telling you that we'll see more people self-deport if they don't have government money and they don't have government food and they're not getting fed better than American citizens,
and better medical care, and put up in luxury hotels. Complain about the towels. Yeah. So look, the American people are tired of this. Yeah. And I think that we've seen now with the random violence, New York City is not safe. New York City is going to lose its tax base, just like San Francisco has. The democratic cities are going to turn into hellholes. People are going to abandon them. And when that happens, we should not bail them out. Nope. Should basically, expose to the American people the bankruptcy of the democratic program, which is dependent upon producing an oppressed class that can be kept oppressed in order to have a poster child to blame the Republicans and capitalism for the problems the Democrats themselves have caused.
Wow, morally bankrupt and financially bankrupt. I read yesterday that they're still trying to figure out how to pay off Kamala Harris's debts. It's been a year. That nobody wants to donate to a loser. Nobody wants to donate to something that's already in the past. People are future looking, which is why I think Trump is doing so well. Dr. Corsi, if people want to catch your show online, where can I point them towards?
We do a podcast every weekday on CorsiNation.com, And then God's Five Stones, which we feature today, is where I'm doing my investigative work.
Okay. I will put those direct links so people can find you. Thank you so much for all you do. We'll have you on again in the future. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Always a pleasure. Thank you. God bless.
Trisha Heaton's slimming secret at 67 takes 60 seconds. Regular milk or oat milk?
Oh, regular milk, but only casein A2.
Did you miss today's biggest news? I saved the biggest till last. Of course, those who subscribe to this channel don't miss a single thing. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. We never put an X next to a Democrat. Biggest news today is that Jack Smith, they're setting up that Republicans can personally sue Jack Smith. This is big in that it shows that the Department of Justice is pushing back, but they are hunting Jack Smith, and in a very good way. Here's the article first. We got a ton of other articles to show, but this is the biggest one to me today.
Republicans are joining Democrats expressing concern. Then Special Counsel Jack Smith, though, ultimately was never able to take then former President Donald Trump to trial as the Supreme Court stepped in. Now, the way this provision is written, it's tucked away on page 217 through 229 of the funding bill. Senators could bring lawsuits and sue the federal government using taxpayer money if federal law enforcement seizes or subpoenas their data without notifying them. The damage.
This is in the funding bill. They put this one in, stuck it in. If the government goes after someone's phones for political reasons, they can sue them personally.
Just could mean each senator could get $500,000 for each violation. Senator Lindsey Graham was one of the senators who later found out that his data got into the hands of Jack Smith's team. Here he is a few weeks ago. Watch.
If they violated my constitutional rights, if they trampled on the separation of powers involving me, I'm going to sue the hell out of these people.
Democrats in the House not amused by this. In fact, the leader of the party, Hakeem Jeffries, hoping some Republicans cross the aisle to join Democrats and take this provision out before it's passed.
Nope. Pass it. If you want them to take this provision out, it might even help get the budget passed, the CR, which ends tonight. The government opens back up tomorrow, says Mike Johnson. I'll show you that clip in a minute. Do you want this to remain in the CR, in the budget? Or do you want them to pull out that they can sue for $500,000? The government, that's $500,000 for Lindsey Graham, $500,000 for Marsha Blackburn, $500,000 for Ted Cruz.
The notion that 8 Republican senators signed off by John Thune and the Republicans, apparently in the Senate and in the House, would give themselves the ability, essentially, to rip millions of taxpayer dollars away from the American people so they could line their pockets?
No, it's not so they can line their pockets. You moron. Hakeem Jeffries' dead eyes. They look back at you like a mannequin or a shark or a zombie. There's nothing behind him. He's blaming them, saying like they're trying to just get rich. How about the government shouldn't spy on their political opponents to try to get Trump?
This attorney has gone on the record to say a number of people have stated falsely that Mr. Smith tapped senators' phones or spied on their communications or surveilled their conversations. Toll records are historical in nature and do not include the content of calls. Wiretapping, by contrast, involves intercepting the telecommunications in real time, which the special counsel's office did not do. The House will vote later today.
They still went after all of the phone calls they made, outgoing, incoming, and friends of theirs. So they put together a chain. It wasn't just directly spying on, say, Marsha Blackburn. It could go out to the relatives who she talked to and who she tweeted.
Clear if they will allow House members to seek the same relief. Right now it's just senators, but Republican congressmen from Texas, Chip Roy, and several other Republicans have gone on the record to say they have problems with this Senate provision.
Chip Roy, come on. Why do Republicans do this to ourselves? But wait, there's more. This one's huge, too. All is not well in the special relationship. Who's our special relationship? The motherland, Britain. They're scumbags, and we're going to prosecute them. Trump's going to get them. This is part of his, I believe it's related to him suing the BBC for $10 billion. But wait, there's more. We have more on Keir Starmer later, too. All is not well in the special relationship. Buried in the New York Times article is the real story. Director Kash Patel is investigating the British intelligence connection to Russiagate, and the spooks are terrified. So this is James Bond, their MI6, and all their secret Mission Impossible, all the secret agencies in the UK. they helped create Russiagate. Remember, it was Steele who wrote the Steele dossier that initially worked with the Clinton administration. We have others, not Clinton administration, but the Clinton campaign. In 2016 to 18, Haspel and Brennan, on Obama's orders, ran Russiagate out of a U.S. embassy in London, using FBI and CIA in London with one MI5 and MI6 cooperation. Here's the tweet on the same day in 1946 that Winston Churchill delivered his Iron Curtain speech in the United States. Britain and the U.S. secretly signed the pact that formed the basis for their intelligence alliance. It was an outgrowth of their collaboration during World War II, back when we had a common fight, bad guy of actually fighting Nazis. The partnership expanded during the advent of the Cold War to include other countries, Australia, Canada, and New Zealand, earning it the name Five Eyes. Now they're collaborating to work against Republican MAGA candidate Donald Trump. All rely heavily on American intelligence to keep their country safe. Though the FBI is a criminal investigation agency, it is also a major part of the Western intelligence gathering community, and this is underlined, alongside other U.S. agencies like the CIA. The FBI has embassies around the globe. Kash Patel's experience, his dismissal of top FBI officials, and his shift of the Bureau resources from thwarting spies and terrorism have heightened concerns among the other Five Eyes nations. So this is the UK trying to push back on the American intelligence agency. That the Bureau's adrift, according to the former U.S. officials and other people familiar with allies' reactions to the Bureau changes. Five Eyes officials have watched with alarm as Kash Patel has fired agents who investigated President Trump. Good. And Europe's upset. And invoked his powers to investigate the president's perceived enemies, the official. That's not true of his perceived enemies. It's the ones that acted like enemies that get investigated. The officials and others spoke on the condition of anonymity for fear of retribution. The shift under Kash Patel has struck deeply at the Five Eyes relationship, though the removal of senior agents who spent years fighting Islamic extremists or blunting counterintelligence threats alongside operatives from allied countries. We're going to get into a little more of this as it unfolds. But look, there's much more. Here's Keir Starmer. Breaking: Keir Starmer's government is completely falling apart behind the scenes tonight. This is according to Bloomberg, so not some MAGA source. This is a neutral source, or leftist source, if anything. Bloomberg says his government is falling apart. Starmer allegedly has just days left, which is good. And here's some Gavin Newsom news. Breaking: California admits they illegally issued 17,000 non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses to dangerous foreign drivers. We saw some of the Sikhs that crashed their semis into people. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, doing great work for MAGA, says he's revoking all 17,000 of them. My brother's a trucker. I have a brother trucker. Good news for him. That makes his wages go up. It means American jobs go to Americans and not foreign illegals, these illegally issued licenses that are DEI hires. Democrats gave CDLs, commercial driver license, to foreigners who didn't even speak English or understand our road signs, who now drive massive trucks on our roads. America just got safer, and we defied the Antichrist here, Gavin Newsom. Reptilian farms, the reptile farms, Newsom caught red-handed. And he's going to run for president, guys. He's the Democrats. He's going to be running against J.D. Vance. It's going to be Newsom versus Vance. We exposed Gavin Newsom. Good. And did you know that today, as of today, we're no longer minting pennies? I have a sentimental value with pennies. Find a penny, pick it up. All the days you'll have good luck.
Era for the penny. The Treasury Department is phasing out the 1 cent coin after more than 200 years. It's got a lot of sentimentality in this, I think. Fox Business's Edward Lawrence is at the U.S. Mint in Philly. One of my first trips with my parents was to a copper mine where they mined copper for the penny. I just remembered that.
Yeah. And yet copper is part of the problem with the penny price increases. What did in the penny, and the last penny will be minted today inside the U.S. Mint here in Philadelphia. They minted 2.3 billion pennies in fiscal year 2024, but no more after today. The cost of the penny to make it is actually 3.7 cents.
Now, this is hilarious to me. It cost 3.7 cents to make a 1 cent penny. And that, the U.S. Mint lost $85 billion in fiscal year 2024. That's why we have to just continue it. It's literally because our money, because we're going insolvent here. Speaker Mike Johnson on the shutdown ending tonight.
Morning.
David, the movie.
I will not be afraid.
Here's Speaker Mike Johnson on the shutdown ending tonight.
Morning. Good morning, everybody. Just wanted to come out and say that we believe the long national nightmare will be over tonight. It was completely and utterly foolish and pointless in the end, as we said all along. I just want to apologize to any Americans who are out there who still have flight cancellations or delays today. I want to apologize to the many American families who were made to go hungry over the last several weeks, our troops and other federal employees who are wondering where their next paycheck would come from. All of that's on the Democrats. Just never.
Yeah, if it's on the Democrats, Mike Johnson, why are you apologizing? Make them apologize. And America's national nightmare isn't over just because we reopen the government. The national nightmare is that the Democrat Party still exists and is still closing down the government like this. They'll open it back up, but we'll just be in the same position possibly in January because the CR only goes that far. They still have to pass a budget, guys. Wait, there's more good news here. Trump is going to campaign on that he's going to get impeached if we lose in 2026, Senate and the House. He has to win. We have to win. That's good for the Republican Party. But we better find some MAGA guys in there because this is Kalshi, one of the largest betting sites there is. Breaking the odds. Trump is impeached again, rise above 50%. Now, to me, this is good news to get this news out because I want everyone to know the Democrats are going to impeach Trump if they win in 2026. That's going to animate the Republican side to defend our senators and members of the House. And I'm willing to fund anyone. I don't care if it's Lindsey Graham, Rand Paul, Thomas Massey. I want the most MAGA candidate is who I send money to and who I vote for. If you're a third place, Chris Sliwa or whatever, Jill Stein, a 3%er, I'm not supporting you. I'm going to support the most conservative candidate that can win so we can secure, we need that Congress. We need that government, or Trump is getting impeached. I'm not messing around here with little third party. I've got a Lynn Wood, MAGA, hardcore. You know what I mean? They have to be ahead. Will President Trump be impeached again? 53% right now is the official chance. And that is all about the 2026 elections. Finally, a great piece here by Mila Joy. Breaking. Kamala Harris's Secret Service detail to be questioned. Good. In the January 6th pipe bombing in front of the RNC and the DNC, her Secret Service detail could be involved. It's all going to come out. The Select Subcommittee to investigate the remaining questions surrounding January 6th, 2021 Select Committee is conducting oversight of the events that occurred on the Capitol and the response. Now, remember, there's a pipe bomb left by someone, and they're saying it could be an FBI, it could be a CIA, it could be Antifa, it could be the Kamala Harris campaign. I don't do a lot of the dark conspiracy stuff. I don't believe a lot of them. I wait for the evidence to come out. As soon as there's evidence, I will pass it on to you guys.
You don't have money for home projects, you have to watch this. The 2025 Window Replacement Relief Service is not a scam. Homeowners think
Senator Chuck Schumer's political career is hanging by a thread, and MAGA voters couldn't be happier. The View tried to publicly shame and humiliate Senator John Fetterman, but he boldly put them in their place. Alex Jones shares Data Republicans' breaking story on NGO's last-ditch effort to destroy America after USAID was wiped out by the Trump administration. By the way, last week you guys gave one of my videos over 55,000 likes, and we've added over 11,000 new subs to the community. So thank you guys so much. In the wake of the longest U.S. government shutdown in history, 40 days, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer faces a torrent of backlash from within the Democrat Party. On the 10th, 8 centrist Senate Democrats defied party lines, voting with Republicans to pass a continuing resolution to reopen the government without extending Obamacare credits. Now, these subsidies are worth up to $550 per person. It shields 20 million Americans from having a premium spike from big insurance. Chuck Schumer himself voted against it, but critics are lambasting him for failing to unify the caucus and extract concessions from President Trump. He's being deemed a colossal failure as a leader. Progressives and moderates alike are furious, viewing the cave-in as betrayal that hands Donald Trump a big win in health care. Now, House Democrats erupted. Ro Khanna said that Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. It's a vote of no confidence. Seth Moulton said if Schumer were an effective leader, he would have unified the caucus to vote no. And Mike Levin said Schumer has not met this moment. Senate Democrats should move on from his leadership. Over and over again, they call him a failure. Now, grassroots fury has amplified the situation. Indivisible launched a campaign urging voters to demand Senator Schumer be ousted and back only challengers who will fight against Donald Trump. Our Revolution, Joseph Girvegi, fumed. Schumer should step down immediately. If he secretly backed this surrender, he is a liar. Now, many are saying that this group of 8, they wanted this over at day 14, but Schumer begged them over and over again, making lots of promises, but in the end, Trump won the war. Now, primary threats loom large, especially in Schumer's 2028 reelection. House member and New York Politico are nudging AOC to challenge Chuck Schumer, citing his age and perceived weakness and failure as a leader. 2026 Senate hopeful Graham Planter seized the moment. This happened because Chuck Schumer failed yet again. We need leaders who fight. Now, the anger stems from deeper frustration. Schumer's second capitulation this year exposes a leader's inability to counter President Trump's hardball tactics. With no tangible wins, Democrats fear that they will lose the 2026 election, and they should, but Republicans are going to have to step it up. As one anonymous Democrat told Politico, Schumer lacked a long-term plan. He is the reason that we failed. Now, I'm sure AOC is drooling at the chance to unseat Chuck Schumer, or maybe the party continues to go more and more radical as 8 senior Democrats plan to retire. Nancy Pelosi is stepping down, and Chuck Schumer will likely lose his election. Now, most of this is over health care. Hakeem Jeffries, however, keeps trying to label Obamacare as a Republican health crisis. However, Congressman Tim Burchett, he saw right through this and pointed it out in a recent interview. Let me go ahead and show that to you right now.
Are quick at work right now, talking to the Democrat leadership that gets their campaigns funded by these insurance companies, and I sure hope it works. I think that meteorite that hit the Gulf of America millennia ago that wiped out the dinosaurs is Trump care, and it's going to wipe out the dinosaur that's Chuck Schumer. I think Schumer's days are numbered, as everyone else does. I think AOC will take him on in the primary and beat him like a drum.
Yeah.
They're saying that if Republicans can do health care right, lower people's costs, provide better insurance, bring a better plan to the table, the Democrats, they're in big trouble. And I really hope that they can. They have voted 70 times to remove Obamacare, but have been unsuccessful. So like Chuck Schumer's failures, the Republicans need some wins as well. So soon Chuck Schumer will be gone. And as much as I cheer that on, I do worry about who might fill his space. Are we going to get AOC? Are we going to get another Mamdani? Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Well, we know it won't be Senator John Fetterman. Not only is he from Pennsylvania, but he's also being threatened with removal. Senator Fetterman had the courage to go on The View, and each of the hosts took turns trying to shame him, humiliate him, bully him. But in the end, he knows what he stands for, and he actually listens to his voters. Listen to what he had to say.
It was a horrific mistake. Governor Gavin Newsom called it pathetic and a surrender. Poll after poll found more Americans on both sides of the aisle blaming Republicans. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene blamed the GOP. As you mentioned, Democrats had big wins last week, so you had momentum. Why give in now? Why bring a butter knife to a gunfight? Are you willing to gamble that the GOP will negotiate on health care in good faith once the government reopens? Because if that gamble is wrong, 500,000 Pennsylvanians that you represent, their health care costs will skyrocket if you are wrong. And I believe you are wrong.
See how she is saying, Gavin Newsom says you're a failure. The Democrat Party says you're a failure. Your own voters are going to call you a failure. Listen to his rebuttal.
Well, first of all, MTG is quite literally the last person in America that I'm going to take advice or to get their kinds of my leadership and values from. And now if Democrats are celebrating crazy pants like that, then that's on them. And now I don't need a lecture. I don't need a lecture from whether it's Bernie or the governor in California, because they are representing very deep blue kinds of populations. And a lot of those things were part of the extreme. And now remember, what really needs to win, the big win is involving my state and other states in those things. And why have we arrived here after the election a year ago? We got to forget some of the things that cost us that election. Or now for me, it's like, that's why I'm trying to remind people that kinds of the extremism, we can't return to those kind of things and realize we need to find a way forward. And I would like to, rather than cite MTG, I'm going to cite one of the new governor-elects saying that my election is not a green light to continue the shutdown, because I promise you, this isn't a political game. It is viewed by many of us, but the reality is 42 million Americans now not sure where their next meal is going to come from, and because we vote like that, or people that haven't been paid for 5 weeks now, and that kinds of chaos. Those workers have to borrow more than $500 million, from their credit union just to pay their bills now. So for me, we're in the middle of this.
All right. He makes some really great points there. He said, listen, being too radical and too to the left is why we lost the election. Yeah. It's the very reason that Donald Trump won. And you're now begging me or shaming me into going further to the left?
Look at how I just got max strength generic Viagra for only $1 each from Friday Plans.
Further to the left? This isn't how we win elections. We've got to come up with better ideas. And I think that John Fetterman is actually very right on that. He is somebody that has really shocked me. Let me know what you guys think about what Senator Fetterman said there. Now, even though the Democrat Party is going through serious turmoil and backlash, they are not beat. And Republicans need to do more. Democrats have taken control of the Jeffrey Epstein scandal narrative and have embarrassed Trump and the Republicans simply by not taking a vote to release information. Democrats have embarrassed Republicans with the longest shutdown in our country's history. Democrats are taking the White House idea of a 50-year mortgage and saying Trump is an idiot, that he wants to enslave the American people to debt and enrich his banker friends. So anything that they can, they are grabbing this narrative and they are cramming it down the throat of more than half the country. So Republicans must do better. Now, Trump needs to get out in front of these stories and come up with some ideas that actually move the needle on kitchen table issues like food prices, house prices, rent prices, gas prices, student loan debt, and out of control high interest rate credit card debt. The economy is always the most important issue, and the stock market isn't the economy. The rich will always be rich, and they will continue to buy up assets. But middle class and lower income families, they're just trying to figure out how to keep the lights on and food on the table. This is who you must focus on. Now, one area many Republicans are focusing on is finally coming up with a better alternative and a more affordable option than Obamacare. Obamacare is a piece of crap. Now, the main hurdle, however, will be that big insurance isn't going to want to charge less. They aren't going to want to make less money. And many Democrats are funded by big insurance. So this is going to be a fight to the death unless they come up with a really good idea where the Democrats can look good and the Republicans can look good. But if they try to just shame and humiliate them, we're going to hit gridlock and nobody's going to get anything done. But listen to what was said by Senator Roger Marshall about the new health care plan that they have been working on.
Let's take that $150 billion we're giving insurance companies, give about a third of that back to patients, to consumers, to set up their own healthcare savings accounts. Beyond that, there's work to be done with roll back the PBMs when it comes to prescription drug prices. Trump RX is going to be something else that'll work. We can expand access to association healthcare plans, to ministry plans as well. We want to set up high-risk pools, reinsurance pools in every state as well. So there's a lot of things we can do. These are not new concepts. Speaker Johnson and I have been working on this together for years.
So, well, you've been working on it for years, but is there like a comprehensive plan that people could look at and decide whether or not they think it's something that Republicans should pass?
We'll have something within that when we'll have a side-by-side bill when they get their vote on Obamacare subsidies, giving
You're going to have a health care bill by the second week of December?
We will. We've been working on this very, very hard for several years. And again, Speaker Johnson and I have done one several years ago, but we'll get a new one, getting it together. We're bringing the pieces together just like I discussed. Again, taking $150 billion rather than giving it to big insurance companies. Let's empower patients, make them consumers again.
All right. So they've got an uphill battle, but maybe it's time to give money to the people and not to the insurance companies, because under Obamacare, if they raise their prices every year, they get a percentage of that. And so they just get to extract more money out of the government, which means more money out of you. So why not empower the people versus empowering the insurance companies? So I'll keep you updated on that. That could be a really big thing, and I hope that it will be. All right, now, I hope Republicans will fix out-of-control medical spending, out-of-control insurance costs, because healthcare is crippling Americans' budgets, and it's the number one cause of bankruptcy in America. But when it comes to our health, we have to take our journey in our own hands and do things that are going to make us healthier. I found something wild about coffee. Studies show that within an hour, it can make your arteries go stiff like copper pipes. When that happens, you lose the flexibility you need for things like running or biking. But scientists found that giving older mice NMN for 12 weeks made their arteries elastic again, a 60% reversal, like turning 60-year-old arteries into 25-year-old ones. Published in Cell Journal, the study showed NMN activates eNOS, boosting nitric oxide so your blood cells literally act younger. Listen to what Harvard professor David Sinclair explained about it.
The government is banning this $39 electric lighter next month, and this is your last shot to get the original high-powered version. There's a new next-gen electric lighter out there, and it's the most...
David Sinclair...
This is the one here. Yeah, are you still there?
What's up, guys? Spenny. President Trump is promising free federal money to all Americans again. We've seen this one before. It's a rerun. Yeah, it's like COVID all over again. Although this time he's saying it's because the federal government has taken in an enormous amount of revenues through tariffs. And so people should be getting a $2,000 stimulus check. Let me tell you just right off the top what I believe about this. We do deserve a stimulus in this nation. Here's how you should do it. You should cut taxes, because the productive class, not the parasitic class, there's about 50% of the nation that is a parasitic class, including a ton of criminal aliens who receive welfare benefits. And they don't create anything. They don't make anything. They just take. The people who make are penalized for that by paying 50% of my taxes to people who could work but refuse to. Just want to sit on their porch, smoke weed, play video games. That's it. I should not be penalized for being productive, but that's how this system works. Now, if you cut taxes, if you do a $2,000 tax cut or a $200,000 tax cut or a trillions of dollars of tax cuts, then that actually helps the American people who are productive. You should do that. And then if you're not paying taxes and if you're not paying into the system, then who cares? You're just a slob anyway. But then giving those people $2,000 extra dollars, no bueno for me. Okay, so I got that off my chest. Let's begin here, ladies and gentlemen. Just a reminder that if you cut taxes, if you cut the actual taxes of the productive class, they'll be even more productive. If you give unproductive people just a pile of money, they'll be even more unproductive. It'll be even less of an incentive to get off your ass and go work.
Yep.
Trump has vowed to give a $2,000 check to every American thanks to the tariff revenue that the administration collected. The president made an exciting announcement on Sunday morning, blasting those who hated the tariff strategy as fools. He said that the dividend of at least $2,000 would be paid to everyone, barring high-income people, although he did not say what the threshold would be. The president also generally lauded the state of the U.S., calling it the most respected country in the world, and says there's almost no inflation. That's true. Record stock market price. That's also true. Trump cited trillions of dollars of tariff income and said it would soon go to paying the country's enormous debt of $37 trillion. That should be, of course, the number one priority. Pay off the debt, and then you can stimulate the economy by making sure that the productive class of the economy is able to be even more productive, but not by handing out checks to everyone, including people that are already on welfare and refuse to work. The U.S. collected $15 billion in tariff revenue between April and October, according to the committee responsible for federal budget. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said he expected to collect at least $500 billion tariff revenue per year. Okay. Scott Bessent, though, also saying that this, these stimulus could come in the form of many, many things, including tax cuts. Trump announces tariff stimmies. There we go. Here's the actual post. It's exactly what I just read to you. Google, is we getting a second stimulus check? Is we getting a stimulus check? Is we getting extra unemployment? Just going to leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. Just going to leave it there. Is we getting food stamps? Is we getting food stamps from November? Is we getting a stimulus check meme? Well, maybe you could send stimulus checks in the form of memes. Robinhood and DraftKings executives hearing about the $2,000 stimulus check. Everyone is going down on the block. Ready, using my $2,000 stimulus check for the down payment on a 50-year mortgage. Stay mad, haters. I don't want an effing stimulus check. That's right. Just a reminder that it took Congress 5 months to agree to a $600 stimulus check for Americans and 8 hours to send $13 billion to another country and give themselves a 21% pay raise. Trump announces $2,000 tariff dividends for America. Stimulus checks are back. How are we sending out stimulus checks when our national debt is skyrocketing? We shouldn't be doing that. We should be paying down our national debt. It's like, far be it from me. It's not like I'm just like saying what the basic economics come out to be. That it's going to be far more stimulating for the economy to cut taxes, regulations, and the debt burden on every American, but especially on the productive class, to try and limit the amount of people actually on welfare by creating a stronger economy. When there's more jobs, there's less incentive to be a slob and sit around. It's better. 90% chance that no tariff dividend is issued, despite rumors of a $2,000 airdrop. Everyone posting on this regarding the $2,000 tariff dividend stimulus check is already knee-deep in risk and assets, begging for their daddy to keep the music playing. The same people celebrating the $2,000 check are the same ones who celebrated multiple $1,200 stimulus checks and couldn't figure out why everything got so expensive. That's exactly right. These kind of things have major unintended consequences.
Careful with the stimmies and like 50-year mortgages. Like, let's not get into this. using our government stimmies to pay our 50-year mortgages. I don't need more government involvement in my budget. I need less. I need none. I need you to take... Can we just stop income tax then instead of sending stimmies?
That's right.
Let's just stop income tax.
Correct. Just do that. Now, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is up saying that the $2,000 dividend check could come in the form of tax decreases. That would be very smart. That would benefit the people that are actually working and deserve, the people whose entire tax bear the weight of the economy. It could be no tax on tips, no overtime, no tax on Social Security, deductibility, and loans. So Scott Bessent is effectively saying not going to happen. Trump announces American citizens will receive $2,000 stimulus checks. Traders. Correct. That's right. Tariff dividend and taxpayers' thoughts. Thoughts are really not great, right? Don't do it. Politics of last resort.
Hold on.
Anyway, I mean, the point is, it's Trump on. It's just Trump on Truth Social, right? So it's Trump, and he's already said this. He's already.
Hold on, Jericho.
Say you have a low credit score and you want a credit card that helps you rebuild credit. Where do you go? Credit Karma. They help you shop for cards and...
The American Farm Bureau, the American Trucking Association, these are all incredible patriots. The Airlines for America, the Allied Pilots Association, the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, and many others, unions and non-unions. Over the past 7 weeks, the Democrats' shutdown has inflicted massive harm. They caused 20,000 flights to be canceled or delayed. They departed so many times, so late. People were hurt so badly. Nobody's ever seen anything like this one. This was a no-brainer. This was an easy extension. But they didn't want to do it the easy way. They had to do it the hard way. And they look very bad, the Democrats do. They deprived more than 1 million government workers from their paychecks and cut off food stamp benefits for millions and millions more Americans in need. They caused tens of thousands of federal contractors and small businesses to go unpaid, and the total effect of the damage their antics caused will take weeks and probably months to really calculate accurately, including the serious harm that they did to our economy and to people and to families. So I just want to tell the American people, you should not forget this when we come up to midterms and other things. Don't forget what they've done to our country. I also want to call for a termination to the filibuster so that this can never happen again. If we had the filibuster terminated, this would never happen again. And don't forget, we have another date coming up in the not too distant future. We can never let this happen again. And we should be able to pass really great legislation. So I say terminate the filibuster because, by the way, the Democrats will do it immediately if they ever assumed office, which hopefully they won't. Today we had the highest stock market price ever in all of the different markets. We set a record. It's the 48th time in the 9 months that I've been in office that we had this record set. So think of that, 48 times we had a record set. But today is the highest of them all. We're going to break new grounds. Nobody would have thought. I have with us not only the great political leaders, but the great business leaders of our country. They're standing right behind me and really alongside of me. And if we would have told them a year ago that we'd be having stock prices this high, none of them. In fact, I just asked them that question. None of them would have believed it. And that inures to jobs and, very importantly, to 401ks, which have also set a record today. A record high for the people that have 401ks. And also I want to thank Walmart because they came up with a fantastic study. It was the cost of Thanksgiving coming up and the cost of Thanksgiving from a year ago under Sleepy Joe Biden, and we're 25% lower this year than we were a year ago. And it's a very inclusive report, so I want to thank Walmart. They've done it for many years, but we believe in that. We believe in that company. I want to also thank the 8 Senate Democrats who finally did the right thing in voting to end this craziness, this madness, but unfortunately the vast majority of congressional Democrats were happy for millions of Americans to suffer. They really did suffer too. And the Democrats admitted, they said, well, no, we finally have a point. Even though people have to suffer, we finally have a point, and that didn't work out too well for them. But they really went out and they could appease the fringe benefits of their far-left base, but that didn't work out because now their far-left base is angrier than ever before. We actually elected a mayor of New York City who happens to be a communist. When was that going to happen? Remember I said all the time during my campaign, we will never be a socialist country, and that's right. We turned out to have a communist in New York City, and if you look at his views, those are the views of a communist, not a socialist. So this is no way to run a country. I hope we can all agree that the government should never be shut down again, end the filibuster, terminate the filibuster. It'll never happen again. So with my signature, the federal government will now resume normal operations, and my administration and our partners in Congress will continue our work to lower the cost of living, restore public safety, grow our economy, and make America affordable again for all Americans. Again, costs are way down. Energy is way down. Gasoline is at $2.50 a gallon versus $4.70 for the Democrats. And we think we're going to hit pretty close to $2 a gallon. That's like a really massive tax cut. It's the equivalent of that. And speaking of tax cuts, our great, big, beautiful bill is giving everybody in our economy, middle income workers, low income, everybody, the biggest tax cut in the history of our country. And it's no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and very importantly, no tax on overtime. You work overtime, there's no tax. That's among the things that add up to the biggest tax cut in history. One other thing, you hear about rich people with deductions. Well, when you buy your car and you borrow money, you're allowed to now deduct the interest on that loan. So you can take that interest deduction and what you can take is that interest payment and deduct it for income tax purposes. That's a tremendous tax cut right there. But it all includes fixing the healthcare system that Democrats broke with the disaster known as Obamacare. Obamacare was a disaster from day one. It's done nothing but go up. And if you remember President Barack Hussein Obama, when he came up with this crazy idea, he said everything's going to be great. Rates are going to go down. Payments are going to go down. Everything's going to go down. It went the exact opposite, with the biggest increase of healthcare in any country. It's a disaster. And I'm calling today for insurance companies not to be paid, but for the money, this massive amount of money, to be paid directly to the people of our country so that they can buy their own healthcare, which will be far better and far less expensive than the disaster known as Obamacare. And I've had, I think, great support. I've even had Democrat support. So we want the money that would be going to the insurance company, which is hundreds of billions of dollars. Their stock prices have gone up by 1,000% in many cases, 1,000% over a short period of time, because our country stupidly pays them so much money with this Obamacare scandal. So I want the money to go directly to you, the people. And you'll go out and you'll buy your own health insurance and you'll negotiate different plans and you'll get much better insurance, and you will be an entrepreneur for yourself. So I'm always willing to work with anyone, including the other party. We'll work on something having to do with health care. We can do a lot better. We can do great. So much money is involved, and we're willing to pay so much money to the people. So we're going to pay a lot of money to the people. They're going to go out and buy their own health care, and we're going to forget this Obamacare madness. So with all of that, I just want to tell you the country has never been in better shape. We went through this short-term disaster with the Democrats because they thought it would be good politically. And it's an honor now to sign this incredible bill and get our country working again. Thank you very much.
Come on, ESG.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know if you have questions. I think we really have a really great situation. We have a country that we love, and we have a country that's in great shape. As you know, we have over $18 trillion invested in our country by other people and countries. That's a record. There's never been a country that had so much, and that money's going into also building new auto plants, new AI plants, new everything. We've never had a time like this. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. It's a great day. It's a great day. Well done, Mr.
The greatest threat to the constitutional republic known as the United States is the Democrat Party. As President Trump said tonight, there was no need for this to have gone 43 days, but it lands into the leadership lapse, or lack thereof, of Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York. Remember this come November of 2026. They are a party without a message. They are a party truly without leadership outside of their new way of progressive, big government socialists and communists, including the mayor-elect of the Big Apple, Mr. Zoran Mamdani. As President Trump reopens the government, we are all smiles to see that those who went without paychecks are ready to receive those once again. And thank you for being strong in these 43 days, as it is, I believe, exactly 43 days until the Christmas holiday. So to give some relief to those who are on either federal employees or on these federal benefits. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight at Right Side Broadcasting Network for these primetime events from the White House dinner with Wall Street executives that went to closed press. We will learn more about that from the wrap up there, and within the coming hours to this very historic moment of H.R. 5371 passing by a vote of 222 to 209 in the House, being signed by President Trump, flanked by House Speaker Mike Johnson, Chairwoman Lisa McClain, and House Republican leadership tonight on this Wednesday, November 12th, 2025. Let not your heart be troubled. We'll be back with you tomorrow at noon o'clock for continued coverage of the federal city, inside and outside of the Beltway, and tomorrow's Thursday night, which means the voice of reason. So stay tuned for even more primetime RSBN as we and you are on the correct side of history, the right side of history. For all of my colleagues here at RSBN, I'm Robert McNeely. Have a wonderful night. God bless you and yours, and we'll see you tomorrow.
All right, but we're going to go ahead and end the live stream, and we are going to call it a night. I got a lot of things I got to do, and I got a bit early tomorrow. So we're going to end the live stream. We heard the good news, things happening. But remember, everybody, we have to get on the vote, get involved, don't sit around, act like there's nothing going on. We need to get involved, because we don't want these terrorist Democrats try to win again. So we gotta do our part, people. And we don't want these LIBTARDs get their way either. So, Oh boy. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed watching this stuff there. Hope everybody enjoyed yesterday's Veterans Day. I did stuff for veterans, but I didn't want to be broadcast what I was doing. So I didn't do that part. Figured just do it nationally wise. Alright everybody, you guys all enjoy. God bless y'all. Have a good night.